Welcome to Gotham High, students. We hope you had a pleasant first day. At Gotham High, we want to ensure that students have a wonderful experience. Take part in our inclusive and diverse events that foster cooperation, our variety of clubs that cater to your interests, and financial assistance when you get mugged. Again, welcome to Gotham High, and we hope your life here will be an exciting one.
Imagine the shows 16, Clone High, or teen dramas from the mid to late 2000s. Imagine every trope and cliche they employ, every awkward moment you are forced to endure, and every dramatic sequence that pulls on your heartstrings. Now imagine all this, but for teenage versions of Batman characters. Gotham High was an animated series that explored the teenage reinventions of Bruce Wayne and his famous Rogues Gallery, developed around 2009 by Jeffrey Thomas and Celeste Green. Gotham High offered a fresh and unique approach to the Batman mythos during an era where Batman media was at its most prevalent. But Gotham High stood out significantly from the crowd, as instead of telling a traditional Batman tale, it opted to reinvent everything we've come to know about this mythos. Whether it would have been successful is completely unknown, as the show never saw the light of day.
I've seen you go through similar phases in 2016 and 2012 and 2008 and 2005 and 1997 and 1995 and 1992 and 1989.
At this point, we're all aware about how Batman can be subject to reinterpretation. Ever since his creation in 1939, Batman's story has changed and altered in a variety of unique and different ways. Whether set in 1888 London, an authoritarian future ruled by a police state, a dystopian future, or a universe where he's a part of the Soviet Union, what's interesting is that Batman stories often reflect the times they were being written in, and the films can often act as time capsules for the zeitgeist of the time.
This was part of a foreign land transplanted bodily to America and known as Little Tokyo. Since a wise government rounded up the shifty-eyed Japs, it has become virtually a ghost street.
In the late 90s to the mid 2000s, there was a large influx of teen sitcoms or action shows. I don't know what it was about these types of shows, but they seemed to be hugely popular at the time, and I'm sure every one of you has seen at least one of them at some point. So with the clear popularity of these teen shows, and Warner Brothers ramping up Batman-related content from the early to late 2000s, it was inevitable that a DC series that used this very popular style of content would enter development. I mean, we already saw it with shows like Smallville, so it was clear that DC was interested in shows of this kind. Gotham High began development sometime in 2008 or 2009. The show came to fruition when artist Jeffrey Thomas sent this illustration to DC Comics, showing what appeared to be a younger Joker and Harley Quinn. It's unclear why exactly Jeffrey Thomas sent them this illustration, but DC Comics seemed intrigued by it, as they would task Jeffrey Thomas to develop the idea further based on the image alone and develop it into a potential TV series. Jeffrey Thomas would work on developing the series with writer and entertainer Celeste Green, and the show would evolve from a simple illustration into a series of illustrations and a story that revolved around high school versions of Batman and his mythos. As stated before, Gotham High explores high school reinventions of Batman characters, including Bruce Wayne, his Rogues Gallery, and his supporting cast. According to the plot synopsis posted on Jeffrey Thomas and Celeste Green's joint blog, the story would revolve around Bruce Wayne, who after the murder of his parents would experience insomnia and haunted by an obsession with an emerging personality trait, Batman. This obsession over upholding justice has taken over his life. However, Alfred Pennyworth his caretaker, ensures that Bruce does not become too consumed by this obsession, instead making Bruce use his intelligence to survive his life at Gotham High School. Now clearly the Batman persona in this story is sort of treated like some kind of phase a high school student would have, like some kind of extreme version of a goth phase. However, as we all know, Batman isn't simply a phase, but a deep-rooted persona that will eventually fully consume his life and lead to a never-ending war on crime. Bruce is not attending high school alone, as Barbara Gordon, which we can assume is his acquaintance, also attends Gotham High alongside him. Barbara is likely one of Bruce's only friends, but also seems to have some kind of unrequited love for him, as she appears to be visibly saddened by Selina Kyle's attempts to rizz him up. Which makes sense, because if Selina Kyle was making moves on most people, they'd buckle. I'm just saying. The whole Bruce Wayne and Barbara Gordon romance is something that pops up from time to time in the comics and some forms of media, and it's a can of worms I just do not want to talk about. Speaking of Selina Kyle, she seems to take on a goth girl-like look. In fact, most characters in Gotham High are redesigned for the story, as Jeffrey Thomas and Celeste Green wanted each character to occupy a specific high school cliché you see a lot in stories of this type. Selina, of course, would be a major love interest, but would also occupy the role of the sly punk who would have likely also been rebellious in the story. Bane and Killer Croc represent the bullies of the story. Oswald Cobblepot, based on his look, was the dorky kid who people make fun of for his appearance. Joker is the edgy kid, or the unfunny class clown, who says the N-word in Call of Duty because he thinks it's funny, or purposely messed with people with his pranks. Clayface, based on his appearance, was the chill art kid. However, personally, it would have made more sense for him to be a drama kid instead. Poison Ivy was the hottest girl in school, the hot cheerleader who every boy wanted to get together with. However, based off the illustrations, she appears to have some kind of need for attention. Harvey Dent would have been the class president with aspirations of becoming the student council president in the story. He would have likely been a stickler for the rules, with a tinge of anger underneath his responsible demeanor.
Hey! You little weasel! I'll tear you apart!
Edward Nygma was clearly supposed to be the intelligent nerd and the smartest kid in the school, or at least he believes he's the smartest. Jonathan Crane is the creepy punk with a tendency to scare those he talks to. Harley Quinn would have been the love-struck girlfriend or partner to the Joker, but also may have been a cheerleader in the plot. Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze was the cool kid who would have likely been a very chill person to talk to. Now I better stop making ice puns because it's a slippery slope I'd rather not get into. Finally, there was Bruce Wayne, who would have likely been the rich and hot student all the girls fawned over, with a tendency to stand up for injustice. There would have likely been other characters that would occupy teacher roles in the series, like Kirk Langstrom. Not much is known about the story of Gotham High. Was it purely a high school story that explored a typical teen drama, or did more traditional superhero elements make their way into the story, like Bruce Wayne creating his hero persona and fighting crime? It's pretty unclear as of right now, but one thing's for sure, knowing what these characters would become adds a strange form of tragedy to this funny slice-of-life series. One interesting fact is that in this illustration of the show's characters, you'll notice that Bruce and Barbara Gordon both have bat symbols on their chest. Now for Bruce Wayne, it makes sense, but why Barbara Gordon as well? Perhaps Bruce speaks to her about his obsessions, leading her to take an interest as well, similar to how in the source material, Barbara Gordon is inspired by Batman. Now you might think the show was cancelled because it had such a strange concept. I mean, at first glance, the series seemed risky. A complete reinvention of Batman's mythos in such a way would have been a huge turnoff for some viewers. But no, this was not the reason the show was shelved. According to Jeffrey Thomas and Celeste Green's blog, the series was shelved in mid-production due to an influx of new Batman content at the time, so Gotham High was just a sacrifice to ensure that DC would not have too many Batman projects being worked on at the same time.